unmuted.
Good afternoon. This is the Socorro Planning and Zoning Commission, March 1st, 2022, 5:31 p.m. We call this meeting to order.
Good afternoon, everyone. Moving on to item number 2, establishment of quorum. Mr. Andrew Arroyos,
Here.
Mr. Enrique Cisneros is absent. Mr. Ernest Gomez,
Here.
Mr. David Estrada,
Here.
Ms. Julie Dominguez is absent, and Ms. Miriam Cruz.
Present.
We have quorum with 4 commissioners present. Moving on to item number 3, notice to the public open forum. Ms. Diana, do we have anyone that would like to speak?
We do not have any speakers.
Moving on to item number 4, consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, do we,
I second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Andrew Arroyos to approve, seconded by Mr. David Estrada. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 5. Public hearing request for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of lots 1 and 2, Stockyard subdivision, located at 11320 Gateway East, Socorro, Texas, from C2 General Commercial and M2 Heavy Industrial to ICMUD Industrial Commercial Mixed Use Developments, and a variance request from front setbacks and parking reduction. Mr. Arroyos?
We open public hearing at 5:33. We'll close public hearing at 5:33.
Thank you so much.
You have one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have the applicant here who's wanting to speak.
Oh, okay. Well,
Thank you.
We'll reopen public hearing at 5:33. Sorry.
Thank you very much for allowing us to be here this afternoon. My name is Will Stacy with Bryant Stacy Group. We're the ones that are making the application for the variance for zoning and then also for parking and for a setback. As you know, Socorro is in the path of what promises to be, I think, the next 3 to 5 years of a long runway of growth. And we think that this site is a great location for our proposed distribution facility. Our current budget, which is only bound to go up given current conditions, is about $25 million. So north of 20 of that would be direct investment. Certainly the balance would be land and different soft costs that we would have to do. But beyond the direct investment of dollars, there'll also be inventories in that warehouse as well that'll be subject to tax. And so we hope that with the rezone and the successful completion of the project, obviously with the support of the folks in this room, that we can deliver that for the city and help to keep the momentum that I know that you're seeing going on commercial development. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll close public hearing at 5:34.
Moving on to item number 6, consider and take action on the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of lots 1 and 2, Stockyard subdivision, located at 11320 Gateway East, Socorro, Texas, from C2 General Commercial and M2 Heavy Industrial to ICMUD Industrial Commercial Mixed Use Developments, and variance requests for front setbacks and parking reduction. Mr. Carlos?
Yes, ma'am. I'll give Mr. Cisneros the time to settle in.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Sorry.
How are you, sir?
Doing well.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, Carlos Gainat with Planning and Zoning Department. So this is the one item that we have on the agenda today. And as Mr. Stacy had mentioned, it is a rezoning. I'm going to walk you through the different items. There are 2 variances, one for front setback and one for parking. And again, I'll walk you through those as I have in the past with enough detail for you to make an informed decision. Here are the facts of the rezoning. So again, the request is to approve a rezoning application with various variances. The zoning property, there's 2 parcels of land right now. One is zone C2 and the other one is zone M2 heavy industrial. The request is to rezone from those two zoning districts to industrial commercial mixed-use district. It's about 18 acres in size. The future land use map has this as future development reserve. Not 100% sure what that means, and I try to look at the comprehensive plan for any sort of definition. I think it's just sort of an area that they reserve for, could have gone any way, right? Industrial, commercial, it is fronting I-10, but that is the designation that is on the future land use map. The proposed land use, as was stated by the applicant, is this industrial distribution facility. And then again, I'll walk you through the front setback reduction and then the parking reduction as well. And staff is recommending approval of the rezoning and the variance request. The location map, again, it's on Alyssa and I-10 near Stockyard, or also abutting Stockyard, as you can see. So, but the front of the frontage is on I-10. Here is the zoning map. So as I mentioned, the larger parcel, there's two parcels. The larger parcel is zone C2, and the smaller parcel is zone M2. And so as we review the request for rezoning, we look at compatible land uses and compatible zoning districts. And again, when you look at that area of the city, there are other C2s, there are other M1s, there are other M2s as well. And so with the zoning request, as you know, the city of Socorro no longer allows applicants to rezone to M1 or M2. And so the next available zoning district for them that fit their use is the industrial commercial mixed use development. And so again, it's compatible with the area, and also especially when it is fronting the highway, right, the Interstate 10. Here is just an image of the property. It's vacant. It's 18 acres, so just a typical vacant parcel along I-10. Here's the aerial. So shows the parcel in the back fronting Stockyard, and then Alyssa and I-10. And then just another view of the aerial from a larger view. Public notice was given to residents within 200 feet of this property, and as of today, we have received no phone calls, no emails, or no letters or requests or inquiries of opposition. I'm going to walk you through the site plan quickly. It's all in your backup, but here is the site plan. So the building itself is about 255,000 square feet. It's a large building. It has ample parking. I'll walk you through the parking reduction as well. But again, there's two entrances off of Alyssa, and you have the detention pond towards the back of the lot, right? And so here's what the site plan looks like. Traffic impact analysis was requested and was provided. It didn't make it to your backup because we just received it, I believe, last Thursday or Friday. Just as of yesterday, I was analyzing it. But I'm going to walk you through some of the findings. Essentially, the conclusion is that there's no mitigation that needs to be provided as through the TIA, but I'll walk you through some of the findings. This slide shows the images are taken directly from the report. But essentially, when you, as you all know this, when you calculate or review traffic impacts or the traffic conditions, there's what you call an LOS, or level of service, right? From A to F. A being great, there's no sort of traffic's flowing great. The control delay or vehicle vehicles traveling, the delay is about 10 seconds on the A. On the F, it's going to be greater than 50 seconds. And so that gives you sort of illustrates essentially what level of service. And again, this is an industry standard, right? It's not just level of service for this TIA. Moving forward, when you see more TIAs, you're going to see again me speak about level of service A, level of service B, level of service F. So again, A is great, F not so great, right? And anything in between is okay. So when you look at the traffic impact analysis, they looked at the intersection, not the whole intersection, but the sort of the turning right on Gateway and Alyssa. And then they looked at their two driveways, and then they looked at Alyssa and Stockyard. And so essentially what you look at is, again, the level of service. And so if you look at the column to the right where it says 2023 projected conditions, 2023 being the year that the development is online, you do have a level of service D on Gateway and Alyssa. Everything else is a level A. So And the level D, when you consider, and this is for peak hours, right? This is 7 to 9 a.m. But when you consider that the level of service D is on that sort of turning point, that's what you expect, right? It's Gateway, it's the access road. You're going to have that sort of degree of traffic along that intersection. This is for the PM peak hours, and so it drops a little bit down to E, but again, everything else on those two driveways and then the intersection of Alyssa and Stockyard are all level of service A. And so the conclusions, this is again taken straight from the report, is that I'm not going to read through the whole thing, I'll just highlight a few things, but the highlighted area in red, all unsignalized approaches are projected to operate at an acceptable level of service for 2023. And then, as I mentioned, the bullet point there, with some minor exception of Gateway Boulevard and Alyssa, which has a level of service E in the peak hours. And then again, the recommendation coming directly from the TIA at the very bottom says traffic impacts to the surrounding roadway are minimal and approval is recommended. And so again, that's sort of looking at the TIA. There's no real mitigation that they're going to have to provide to the city or to TxDOT. Let me speak now to the parking variance. And so if you look at the variance, the request is for about 40% reduction, but there are several things that I'd like for you guys to consider. So I highlighted what's in front of you is the City of Socorro ordinance, right? And so it says for industrial uses, specific warehouse and distribution is one space per 500 square feet of net leasable area. So when you take out bathrooms, when you take out maybe common areas, what you're left with is the leasable area. That is what you're supposed to calculate the parking, right? In my estimation, and I circled it for you, the last time that the city reviewed our parking standards was 2010. It's not probably, it's 2010 because that's what the degree of ordinance is. But I don't know that we did a comprehensive review of parking, right? Many things have changed since the first time was 1989. 2010, right? Parking standards are a little bit different now. And so even to begin with, the required parking for the city of Socorro is high, right? When you consider as the examples of El Paso and Houston, which are much less than what is required, that is what the applicant is saying. Hey guys, if I go to Houston or if I go to the city of El Paso, I'm not required to provide as much parking, and I am still going to provide adequate amount of parking for staffing and for the trucks that are going to go on the development. So again, if you base it on the City of Socorro standards, you divide 255,000, which is the total square footage, right, of the building, divided by 500, they are required to provide 510 parking spaces, which is a lot of parking, right? So if you look at the, next slide, please. If you look at the parking variances, this is taken directly from the development plan that the applicant provided that's part of your backup. The number of parking spaces we are requesting exceeds the number of prospective tenants will require. We are also providing approximately 91 trailer parking spaces, which are in addition to the 267 car parking spaces. And so at the very bottom, the total number of parking spaces is about 358. They are also providing the information for Houston and for El Paso, which I verified. So in Houston, if you see towards the bottom, for the same development, given the same parking dimensions and the same parking standards, Houston would require 95 parking spaces. El Paso would require 75. We are requiring 510 parking spaces. Not as a side note, I think that as we review our different ordinances, parking is one that I think we should review. A lot of things have changed, right? People don't go to stores as much. People shop online. People work from home. So all those sort of things should be taken into consideration for whenever it is that we review our parking standards. But that is a basis for why staff is recommending approval on the parking variance. And then the final one on the setback variance. So here's just an image, and I think you all are familiar with how we provide the presentation. So the line in red is essentially not so much the property line, right? But it's not part of the public, not part of the right of way. But there's an easement or a dedication. I'm not 100% sure, but there is between the curb of the street to the property line, which is the line in yellow, is about 80 feet. And then, next slide. So this slide shows you again those 80 feet from the back of the curb to the property line. And then if you consider their setback would be at 35 feet, you are essentially looking at about 115-foot setback from the street. So again, right, it's I-10. You have plenty of space. The site plan shows that they have plenty of parking, the building, the driveways, the circulation. And so from our perspective, we are also recommending approval on the variance. And then finally, the summary request, so the rezoning from C2 and M2 to ICMUD, and then the parking reduction and the setback reduction. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Gaynat,
Yes,
on the
ma'am.
future land use map, I'm not sure I could tell the difference between the future development reserve and the regional retail attraction. Have you requested a new map or like the original document of this? Or
I have, and I haven't gotten it,
Okay.
so I have.
The reason I ask is because it looks to me like it was colored as regional retail attraction rather than the,
To me too, ma'am, the point being it's unclear.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then, as far as the setback, oh, you already took it out. So the setback, you're saying that as it is, it would be about 115, so it'd be 35, and so they're requesting a variance to how much?
So I'm sorry, ma'am, the required setback on a major arterial, which this one would be, is 60 feet.
Okay.
So they are requesting to be allowed to put the setback at 35 feet.
I understand. Okay. And as you mentioned today, and like you have in other times, it's because there's so much more space still between there to Gateway.
Yes, ma'am.
And the reason, and that makes sense generally, but the reason it's concerning to me is because I know that spot is major for accidents, major for cars breaking down and moving into the road, the turning lane, and they just stay there. I know when cops have been involved in certain types of accidents, I mean, the whole area is blocked out. So I guess my thought process is that TxDOT, I know, is looking into expanding I-10 in that exact area because of the congestion on Horizon. I mean, it's just ridiculous traffic during those peak hours. And during those peak hours, I'm not sure if you guys were here personally to see that, but during those hours, people use Alyssa to cut through and not deal with the Horizon congestion. And so I guess my concern is, I know that usually trailers will try to avoid peak hours whenever they're taking off or whatnot. Generally speaking, most companies try to do that. But I guess my concern is that would it allow enough for expansion and me thinking ahead, maybe it's not a good plan to allow the variance. Not for the simple fact that I think TxDOT will eventually expand, but that's just a thought. Okay, I have lots of questions. What's the width of Alyssa? Do we know?
40 feet?
Okay.
40, 45 feet?
And because it's not a major thoroughfare, right? What's the typical? What should it be? I guess I should ask.
I mean, there's no classification for Alyssa, right? So it's not a collector. It's not it's really just a drive-through street that doesn't have a.
It's a shortcut for many people.
Yeah, it's a shortcut. Sure, that's right.
Right. Okay. And the reason I ask is because I know when I drive on it, it seems a little tight, especially if I'm going to be next to an 18-wheeler. And so my thought process again is, will that be expanding potentially because there will be so many 18-wheelers coming in and out into Alyssa. And so I understand that they're not asking a variance for the right away on Alyssa, right? For the frontage.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
That's going to stay the same. Yeah.
Okay. And the plan isn't to expand it?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
And again, the TIA showed that TIAs also look at the road's condition and the road capacity. And
Okay.
so they're all level A,
right, except for that one that's an E.
except for that one turn right,
Mhm.
not the whole intersection, not
Right.
cars coming in and turning right, just that one turning right is a level D and E.
Okay.
Yep.
And I know this is more tech stuff, but I hope that y'all consider maybe creating more lighting, because one of the issues is actually lighting in that area. It's probably one of the reasons why there's so many accidents there, usually at night. It's really hard to see. But anyway, okay, sorry. Okay, this is a softball for the applicant, if they don't mind. So you mentioned on your overall site plan option that all non-paved areas will be landscaped with a combo of grass, shrubs, trees, all to be professionally maintained. That sounds fantastic. I'm wondering, do y'all usually try to use anything that's native to the area? Do you try to usually in your
Certainly. We don't have a landscape plan completed yet, but absolutely. I mean, we want our project to show well to prospective tenants and to look good for the community and where it is. It's also a bit of a beauty contest when we're competing for tenants, and so we want to make sure that it looks good, and it's going to be professionally maintained as well by a management company. The short answer is yes. And obviously that landscape plan will be submitted to the city as part of our overall plan submission for a permit, and we'd welcome the city's comments then as well to
Okay.
what they'd like to see.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you hearing that, because I think that's important to try and keep native plants and, not bringing in something that's not going to work well. But I promised you all that I would mention, so I am so happy with the plan that y'all submitted, because it's so comprehensive. It allowed me to narrow down my questions. Obviously, I still have so many. But I wish every applicant submitted a plan like this, because it's so comprehensive, it's so thorough. You guys thought of everything. And obviously, you also submitted, past projects that you have done, and they look fantastic. And I know that one of them, not sure what page this is, but it looks like the tenant is Walgreen Company, and it says that you guys are the owners. And so my question would be, one of the issues along Stockyard and Alyssa is that 18-wheelers do use that as a shortcut as well. And so they try to use Stockyard to avoid Horizon and go around onto North Moon, which is residential area, and get onto the gateway, because it's an easier point of access to get onto the gateway. There's less traffic, which totally makes sense. That's why other residents use it actually too. But 18-wheelers are not supposed to be in that part of the area, and so I'm wondering if you all would commit. I'm assuming you guys are your plan is to continue to be the owner if you do build. I would hope that you would be able to commit to making sure that your tenants, whoever they may be, will make sure not to use Stockyard that goes into residential area as an access point. Yes, please.
So to answer your question, yes, while we certainly can't make them do, what you suggest, we would absolutely discuss that with them. And one of the reasons we really like this site is because it is on I-10. That way, there's not a reason for the trucks to be back in the residential areas. They're on I-10 with direct access, which is one of the reasons that we think this site is so great for our proposed project.
Okay.
It would help mitigate the truck traffic in the back when they're on the front, where they're coming, around from the Zaragoza gate, and can come right around from the loop on I-10 with ease of access.
Right, and if I can just mention, the reason that they don't use it now, or at least less of them are using it, it's because the traffic does build up way past Alyssa, and it's bumper to bumper, and so so if they're able to get onto the gateway and not have to deal with oncoming traffic and bumper to bumper, and then a street light ahead, I understand why they're using the back roads, but they shouldn't be. And so I understand what you're saying. The ease to I-10, it is there, but the drivers themselves are trying to circumvent that. So, but I appreciate that you would say publicly that you would try and talk to your tenants, make sure that they you know, abide by Socorro's rules.
I have a
My
question.
my last question's for Ms. Reynat. I promise it's the last one. The water ponding area that's at the back, there's no way that it would be able to connect to the city, which is the city reservoir that falls down to Thunder?
No, ma'am, this is a private pond
Okay. so
that's
it should
maintained
not
and
connect.
managed by the applicant.
And all water should stay within the property?
All developable water from this development, nothing else.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then just to the chair to clarify, so to Ms. Cruz's point, which I think is well taken about TxDOT expanding that portion of I-10, the TxDOT's MTP plan through 2045 does not have this as part of their projects. They're spending a lot of money on their I-10 expansion in downtown and a few others. So I don't know that it's going to be at least a generation before you see any expansion of I-10 on that segment of I-10.
Okay. I did see it on the, what is it, the I-10 Connect, whatever
That's not
study
it.
that they did.
This is not
recently.
it.
Yeah,
That is something else.
right.
Meadows?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Gallina, I'm looking at the map here, and as trucks turn south on Alyssa and then they turn into the property, what's the distance between the property parking spots and then the entrance? I mean, how many trucks can fill in there? My concern would be that we have a backload of trucks onto I-10 on an already congested area.
So, Mr. Cisneros, just so I'm clear, so you're asking, so let's say here's I-10, here's the parcel, there's a driveway here and a driveway here. Right, and Stockyard's back here.
But they're both on Alyssa?
Both driveways are on Alyssa, yes, sir.
But it looks like, and again, okay.
So, but finish your question, I just don't, so that I can answer it.
I guess with the setback request being the way that it is, and that, I mean, it is a large, we're looking at 250,000 square feet in building area. I mean, there's probably gonna be trucks coming in and out all day, right? As we want it to be, as we
Sure.
wish it to be. And there's not gonna be a dedicated lane, there's not a dedicated turning lane there already.
There's a dedicated lane off of I-10, turning right onto Alyssa.
Onto Alyssa.
Yes, sir, there is a dedicated,
Okay.
there is a decel lane.
There is a deceleration.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
there is.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Estrada?
I have one question.
Question,
Everybody
Mr.
on this list, you tried to get in touch with and nobody answered you?
We send letters, sir. We don't call. The code requires, state law requires you to send a letter.
Okay. Are the letters certified?
Letter is certified, right?
I think that would cost the city
No.
about
They're
$1
not
They're
certified.
not certified? No?
and they're not gonna spend $1. Okay, no, that's fine. That'll work.
Okay, fine, I lied. I had one more question.
Yeah, it might break the city for pay 15 cents more.
So you guys use this image as a proposed industrial project. Is this what we could, was this just a sample, or is this what you're kind of imagining that it would look like?
Yes, so it will be something that closely resembles that. The project's going to be a concrete tilt wall Class A building. It's going to have some features to it, the reveals that you see, painted awnings at the entrances. It'll be a Class A institutional quality building.
Okay. And could you do without the variance of the setback?
We could, we sure would like to get it, but we could live without it if we had to.
Okay, thank you.
There's no more questions. I'd like to make a motion to approve with rezoning and the variance requests.
Second?
I have a motion made by Mr. Andrew Arroyos to approve and seconded by Ms. Miriam Cruz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone nay? Anybody would like to abstain? Okay, motion carried. Moving on to item number 7, discussion and take action regarding the commissioner's bylaws. Carlos?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, thank you for the last presentation, for the last item, and for the questions. The item that we're on is,
Number 7.
I don't have the agenda in front of me, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
the bylaws.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, so this item, this one and the one that's coming after this has to do with our business meeting. If you all recall, there was some conversation about your bylaws and about the Robert's Rules of Order. That's the next item, but just wanted to bring it back to you all. The request was that when there was an agenda that didn't have as many items, this one only had one, that we bring it back to you for review. Happy to entertain any ideas, or we could still table it. It's entirely up to you, but wanted to bring it forward for your consideration like we had discussed at the business meeting.
So this would be just to, Mr. Gallina, this would be to go ahead and proceed and make a motion to approve the bylaws?
So if you all remember back in January, and it seems like such a long time ago, right? And we're already in March. But if you all remember, at your annual meeting, what the bylaws require is that on your annual meeting to be held in January, that the P&Z review the bylaws. You could change them if you like, or you could leave them as is. There was some discussion about a few items here and there, but nothing was solidified. And then again, the motion, as I remember it, was, hey, delete it, but bring it back sometime in the future. And so you don't have to modify them, right? You could just leave them as is if you like, or you could review them and make any changes as you see fit.
Go ahead.
Sure, I have a comment. And so I think that we had requested for a specific section to be, I guess, listed so that we could focus on that, that section of the bylaws, and then move from meeting to meeting on that.
Ms. Cruz, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you. What was the request?
What I remember is that we were going to bring back the bylaws in sections.
Okay,
And so that
that's
we
right.
were going to do, we were going to state which section we would be looking at so that we could all review it and then bring our comments, if any.
Yes, that's
and
right.
then-
So we could also do that. That's right.
And-
So if you like to just do like
I-
the first
and-
2 pages or whatnot.
Right, and I guess my other comment was that I think that we should table it for the next available meeting. Chair, it is Tuesday, it is election day. I'm not sure if everyone has had their chance to go vote. I certainly did already, but seeing that it's Tuesday, I would hate to keep people here that maybe have not gotten a chance to vote today. They only have an hour to vote today. And we also don't know which sections we're going to be discussing.
I'll second that motion to table it.
Can I make a request? Can you just delete it? Because when you table it, you have to have a date of when you want it back. You could just delete it, and we could just put it back with
I'll amend my,
smaller chunks.
sure, I'll amend my motion to just delete the item number 7.
And I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion made by Ms. Miriam Cruz and seconded by Mr. Enrique Cisneros to delete this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Moving on, motion carried. Moving on to item number 8, discussion and take action regarding Robert's Rules of Order.
Mr. Chair, again, this was an item that we discussed during the business meeting. I believe it was Ms. Dominguez who requested sort of like a condensed version. So this is what we provided to y'all. Again, we could table it or wait or discuss it. There's no real, you don't need an action on this, just for information. And then again, with the help of Marwan, our city attorney, as we move forward, maybe there's a little bit more utilization of the Robert's Rules as you manage the meeting moving forward. The bylaws do require you to use Robert's Rules of Order because it's stated in there. And so if you all remember, again, the conversation was that, hey, let's bring this one back as well. So that's why it's here, and that's why it was the information's provided to you.
Is that missing from the packet, Mr. Gaina? Because I didn't get a condensed version.
It should have been in the back. It's like a 2 pages, Robert's Rules of Order cheat sheet.
I
No?
didn't
You
see
provide
it.
Okay, we may have not
Can-
included
Can we
it.
delete that one and bring it back up when we,
Perfect. Yep, that'll work.
make a motion to delete it and bring it up when we bring up the bylaws?
That'll work.
Second.
Thank you all.
I have a motion made by Mr. Enrique Cisneros and seconded by Ms. Miriam Cruz to delete item number 8. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. Anyone nay? Or anyone like to abstain? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 9, Planning and Zoning Commissioners Report.
I do have something to report, real quick, sir. So I was present the meeting that we did away with M1 and M2, probably almost 3 years ago. And one of my questions back then was, they wanted to do away with the designation because of the city wanting to moving away from junkyards, right? And-
Oh, yeah.
And one of the comments I had made is, okay, we're gonna do the industrial designation, sorry. And one of my questions was, okay, we're literally throwing out the whole designation, what are we gonna use afterwards? I guess my question would be is as a planning and zoning commission or department, do we have something that we can make it easier for people applying for those types of designations that don't include junkyards? And not that we have to answer that today, but I did have that question back then, and I think since we had something come up that we could have used it for, is there something we have in mind to bring that up later?
So, Mr. Cisneros, just so I'm clear, the question is, because the city no longer has M1s and M2s, but someone may still want to do a junkyard, what would be the zoning district that they would utilize?
Well, and I'll use the one we just used as an example, right? So it had to go from heavy industrial, right?
It had to go from, yes, sir.
It had to go from heavy industrial to industrial commercial mixed-use district.
Yes, sir.
So is there a way that we can keep or create an M2? And I think there was 2 designations that were deleted 2.5, 3 years ago, that we can bring those designations back, but, wording it in a way that junkyards or auto parts.
So, Mr. Cisneros, I think that is a request. So at the end of the day, it's city council that decides, right? So I think that is a request that would have to go to city council.
To come up with the designation.
Talking about bringing back the designation or bringing back the designation with some modified language, right? So I cannot uniformly, without any degree of council action, right, bring ordinances to you all. I could make recommendations, and I think the protocol would be that if it's coming from the P&Z, maybe there's a formal request from the P&Z as a body to the city council, and then city council says, hey, staff, you may want to work on it. Although I don't think you could do that today because it's not posted for the.
But that's my question.
Yes.
We as a board can come up with something, work it through you guys and then bring it up to city council.
I think so, yeah. I think the P&Z has that purview.
Yeah, so, you're kind of also an advisory body to the city council, but something like this is more of a request to city council, almost to a city council member, and then if there's interest, having them take up that item at city council. Because what you're suggesting, what you're suggesting is like a zoning district change, even though it was an old one, is to bring it back, and then you have to amend the ordinances. So proposing the new ordinance, it's almost a city council thing. Now you could almost, any member of the public can actually sign up and go speak and bring that issue up for the first time. And then from there, how it goes through is, if there's interest from city council, and then maybe they direct the city manager or city attorney or staff to then come up with the ordinances. But at some point, it's going to require their interest and their input. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I don't have anything else.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to item number 10, Planning and Zoning Department Report.
Just a quick item, next meeting, I'm still trying to schedule, as you remember, also part of the business meeting, there was supposed to be a training from an attorney out of Austin, so we're hoping, it's not 100% confirmed, but I think if we're looking to have it at your next meeting. The next meeting won't have any cases. We slowed down a little bit, right? There was an influx of cases that came in January, which you saw the last several meetings, that this one was sort of one of the final ones that was trailing off. We do have some new applications that have come in the past couple of weeks, but they're not ready to be packaged for presentation. So the March 15th meeting will have an introduction of the consent agenda for an introduction, maybe one, maybe two, and then the presentation, and that should be it. But wanted just to make you aware that we're still working on that.
Do we have a timeline on the presentation or the training, I'm sorry?
We're looking at March 15th, ma'am.
Oh, no, the amount of time. that
Oh,
it's
1
gonna-
hour. Yes,
Oh.
so we're trying to keep it within the hour, so it's manageable.
Thank you.
So next meeting should be short, right? So you'll do the agenda items to move to approve the consent agenda, which will include one, maybe two introduction items, and then the presentation. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 11, excuse absent commission members. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
I second.
Thank you so much. I have a motion made by Mr. Enrique Cisneros to excuse and seconded by Mr. Andrew Arroyos. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Any nays?
Yes, no,
For nay, Ms. Cruz?
yes.
Okay. Anyone like to abstain? Okay. Motion carried. Moving on to item number 12, consider and take action on the adjournment of this meeting.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you so much. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Andrew Arroyos and seconded by Ms. Miriam Cruz to adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Motion carried. Meeting is adjourned at 6:13 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.